Ayomide here, and you already know what time it is. We're back for another episode of the World Without People podcast. More voices, more real stories, and even deeper conversations that challenge the way we see the world. This season, we're peeling back even more layers, exploring life, love, purpose, and the beautiful complexities of the human experience. New guests, fresh perspectives, and of course, the same unfiltered, soul stirring energy you love. So, whether you've been rocking with us since day one or you're just joining the adventure, welcome. Grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's keep the conversation going, one unforgettable story at a time. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The World Without People. My name is Ayomide, and I'm excited. I am always excited, but I'm particularly excited because we've gone through so much to put this together. And Amina, my lovely guest here, and we'll talk about it in a second, has been really, really gracious in making sure we give you guys a show. Which is why, if you're watching this, please subscribe, like, share with your friends. We're trying to get to 1,000, which I think, again, for my community, I think this is a fail because we've been doing this for over 2 seasons now, and I feel like we should have gotten past 1,000. So please don't gatekeep, because that's the word. I know all of you are listening as soon as it drops. That's for my loyal community folks, but I need to share, to like, and make sure you're subscribed. I mean, I feel like you should already be subscribed if you're watching the video, but anyways, all of that to say thank you very much for all of the support, and welcome to Amina.
Thank you.
I'm so excited about this conversation because, as God would have it, it's always very rare. I always come in with a few of the people that I've never met before, and I think, oh, okay, we don't really have much in common. Turns out, she knows my husband, she knows my husband through his sister, and then knows my cousins very well. So this life is very, very, I don't want to say short, but when we say 6 degrees of separation, I don't know if it happens in other countries. Nigeria, 6 degrees of separation. And I feel like maybe, let's say, because we're I didn't think so, right? Because your last name is you're from Pausch University. So I was going to say, maybe it's a Yoruba thing. But no, actually now I've just debunked my own theory. So never mind. 6 degrees of separation. I think that's the joy of boarding house and things like that. Maybe. I don't know what it is. Get to university.
I just think that life just takes you anywhere.
Fair enough. Kasha Mashida, as Yoruba people will say. Just do good. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know when you're going to meet them, in what circumstance. I can imagine that you have come here and you're like, what? Princess's brother? No, I'm not. I'm like, oh, Miss Cousin, no. It's just been really, really horrible. So again, shout out to my cousins and my sister for being good people as well. Thank you. But it's funny because I say this because I met you through my production, I don't know what's called, and everything behind the scenes intent. So we would not even have, I think we were casually talking. Okay. How did we even know? Okay, you found out about me.
Yeah, I posted something on the page and I was like, I like this topic.
Okay, good. And the topic, I feel like now that I met you and that we got a chance to talk, is the littlest of all the things to talk about.
Yeah.
Which was the idea that we wanted to talk to someone who did not have a first degree, for lack of a better term, or a advanced degree. Which in Nigeria, let's be honest, it almost seems like it's only the quote-unquote poor of the poor or the worst of the worst, or you're really in the creative, which I guess kind of falls into your list because my sister is in the creative and we only go how to get a first degree in one family, exactly, a first degree or whatever. But if it was left up to her, she wouldn't have gotten one as well. And so I think it's interesting that yes, we're still finding that, but it's also not unusual. When they say Mark Zuckerberg did not get his first degree, those kind of things. It's not necessarily the worst thing in the world, but what do you think is still such a big deal in Africa? And tell us about the story, how you went, because you mentioned that you started school, but you just didn't finish. Okay. Tell us everything about it, because now we're talking for 5 minutes.
Okay, so I went to school in Ghana, and I attended the Radford University College. I was studying fashion design there. It was a 4-year degree course. And let's just say that the only reason why I didn't finish was because of funds.
Okay.
something hit my dad's business and everything just went down the drain.
Okay.
And it was me and 3 of my siblings in school.
At the same time?
At the same time.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was traumatizing, and I think that I was really like rooting to being. I remembered it so clearly when we were writing exams. It was like exams to take us to the next level, and I kept calling my father like, "What's up with school fees? They're saying that we're not going to write our exams if we don't pay it. I'll sort it out. I'll sort it out." And up until the day of the exam, I was just sitting down in one little classroom like, what is going on? And my father was not the kind of person who would express his problems even to his wife. So we were all in the dark. He just always handled things on his own, so we didn't know. But I was left devastated, very devastated. Like it was just too much, and I got traumatized by it. I'm like, you know what? I can do this without school anyways. Right? And I came back to Nigeria and I started to do things on my own. You know, I mean, like I have hands, I'm creative. I mean, if I'm studying fashion design in school, I might as well just walk through with the experience and make something for myself.
That's amazing, actually, because I can imagine that for everybody, like you said, it was traumatizing. But now only to find out that it's not just you, it was also your siblings. So did any of your siblings go back to school at any point?
Yeah, they did. Okay. And then everybody has been stressing me out of it.
Okay.
I mean, I won't say it's stress, but I still feel stressed by it when my friends would say, "Oh, I'm in school." I'm like, I will go at the right time. I'll go, I mean, every time seems like the right time, but I just know how to do things instinctively. And I know when I do it, right? I mean, we need money to go to school, right? So I have to save for it and all of those things which I'm already doing. And it will eventually happen, but I'm not the kind of person to rush into doing things because people think that I should. Like, okay, I'm moving anyways, I'm thriving in my own field, as opposed to what people might think is thriving to them. I'm thriving, as far as I'm concerned, is relative to me. And that's where I'm at.
I really like that though. I had to do some ad thing earlier today, and I was telling in the ad that I also have experienced not, having that, daddy couldn't pay for one semester, daddy couldn't. In fact, I experienced it as an immigrant. So I know the feeling exactly. And yes, you still struggle and do everything to try and finish, you do your own part and everything. And people don't realize how traumatizing it is, like you said. Like for me, and maybe because I'm the first, so it was like, okay, you have to get through the trauma and then kind of move on ahead of time, Like, I always tell people, there was a period of like 3-4 years, I couldn't even look at the school. I had to wait until and then I had to go back to school. Now, again, at this point, I already had a degree, so it was like, okay, fine, but it was still my dream to continue with this program that I was in. So I feel like that's the part that is more traumatizing, that it was your dream. But like you're saying, the larger dream is doing what it is that you're doing now, regardless of the degree, right? Okay. So talk to us a little bit about that larger dream, right? Because I'll tell the listeners, we've talked now into all the other ideas and things that are coming from out of that. But when you started, or let me say it like this, when you stopped going to school and then you were starting what would now end up becoming your career, has the dream changed? Like, has the dream changed more from when you were in school, in a better way or in a worse way? If that makes sense.
Well, it's better for me. Back then, I feel like I can't speak without adding God into this.
Absolutely.
Because back then, after I left school, I came back to Nigeria. I was depressed. I was just traumatized. I was angry at my dad. I was angry at everyone. I just was I think everybody, my friends say that I'm the most distant person I've ever met. So back then, I thought I was being rebellious. They're like, is that what rebellion? That's what I think. Well, I knew that I just wanted to stay in the house. I don't want to see any of them. I just wanted to be out all the time. My friends' place and all of that. But I remember one time my mom had just come to my room and said, you know what, just get a job. Like, you like fashion, just get a job in a fashion company or something. I'm like, I don't want to work. I wanted to do my own thing. I'm like, but you have to start from somewhere. Like, okay, now you don't have the degree. You can, I see what you do with your hands at home. Like, I used to create tops, little tops that I'll be forcing my babysitter to wear because it was not her size. What job somewhere where they can hone your skills. At the end of the day, experience is even the best than the degree, you know. And so I found myself getting a job. And I did. I remember telling her, like, the salary is too small. That salary, I don't even like. You're like, but you're an intern. Just that. So I worked at this company called Salibawa. And from there, she was barely around because she was also doubling up as an engineer working offshore. So there was a supervisor there. So there are a lot of mistakes that I made. And I'm actually grateful that she was the first person I worked with because she was extremely patient. The times when she would come and she'd say, oh no, this was not what you were supposed to buy. You know? So she would send me to the fabric market. She'd ask me to get this, I'll get the wrong thing. And I said, please take it out of my salary. I said, no, it's fine. So I made mistakes over and over again, you know, but every time I was the one she was asking to do things. And before I knew it, I'm one person who would never repeat a mistake twice. So, because it would hurt me to, my dream had always been to have my business. So if anybody did that to me, I would not like it, right? So I would always make sure that I did better next time. So she saw that I was willing to grow, and she actually honed me, you know, and then I moved from there to another place that my friend had introduced to me because I thought it was better paid, right? And of course everybody wants to grow, so I moved there too, right? And I did all the things that I could do there, and I just found myself moving from place to place. I just found myself every time when I see that these people are beginning to come my growth, I would, before I leave that place, I would sign up in another place, and as I'm putting my letter down, I'm already there. So I've worked for a number of fashion houses. David Nyamba, Trisho Couture, David Bola. I've worked for a number of people.
First of all, I don't know how to do it. Nyamba is the name of the said that I knew. So clearly there are a lot of fashion houses in Nigeria. So this is news to me. And let me understand, they're producing as well, like they're actually producing and you know all of that. Well, okay, let me say it the other way. Like I don't do actually be producing. I mean like ready to wear kind of thing.
Yeah, so all those people were doing ready to wear. In fact, I barely worked with anybody who was doing the Ashebi and stuff. I worked with people because I was very interested in ready to wear. I enjoy good finish. I enjoy seeing things come to life, and I was really not interested in the custom pieces. It was mostly David Bola did custom pieces, but he used to makes because he's still I mean his business is still on. He makes really nice suits and dresses as well, but he's mainly known for his suits and all of that. So yeah, it's been good for me. The experience has not been the easiest because I was also dealing with, you know, I'm also the firstborn. So there were things. I was traumatized, and back then I used to allow, like, I used to be so angry. I was such an angry girl.
No, but it is an angry situation. Honestly, because it's almost like the same way we say that parents don't, what's the word? They don't get a manual on children. But we didn't exactly choose to be.
I was angry at my parents for a very long time.
I think I would be angry. I remember, and this is a very, my siblings see this, they will laugh at me, but I remember one day I called my dad and I said, do you want me to be a prostitute? Is that what you want me to do? Do you want me to be a prostitute? Like, and you know, it's so funny because in retrospect, I don't know what he was going to do. Sometimes when he tells me, oh, I don't know what you're going to do, and I always still think about it in who I think he is. Right, to your point, right? Like, oh, you didn't talk, at least you didn't talk. And like, this was my biggest thing. Like, I'm like, at least my mom would call me, she would try to like find out what to do, you know that kind of thing. And so, but they didn't choose to be parents. They didn't get them as well. They chose to be parents. Let me say that. You don't get the do exactly. And I think that it's okay to, because again, that kind of thing, right? I know sometimes we think that America overdoes, but that kind of thing, somebody may have taken you to therapy. If they were in what's it called, if they were in an advanced country or whatever. But exactly, they're not thinking about that, they're not praying.
I would say that my anger pushed me. My anger, I was angry at everything. So I'm like, you know, this anger, I'm going to use you to push. And I think one thing that started to make me look at the silver lining was a friend, a former classmate of mine back in Ghana had reached out to me. So, I mean, you're doing things and people are watching, right? So people are thinking, oh wow, she's you know how everybody goes to the school and one person is now the one they're seeing doing this and that, you know, I'm working in this place, I'm working in that place. You're here today, oh wow, yeah. I remember somebody had always said, had told me, you always have a job.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time I ask you what's up, you say, oh, I'm at that place. I'm okay here now, you know. And I remember somebody had from school that finished, you know, she was not having any money troubles, or she had reached out to me to say, please can I hook her up with a job? And that's when I realized that it was by the grace of God. It was not by my power or anything. I just found myself, I'm like, oh wow. So it's not really about you finishing school or anything of that sort. It's about what happens afterwards, right? And I'm already living the life of the afterwards, you know, after school life, right? I was already ahead of them. Right. So I started to see it as a blessing. It was a blessing. It was not the easiest because I was going through it, right? There were things that I was going through. I was probably working in the wrong place when they would not pay me for 4 months. There were those times, you know, but because I was always grateful that I enjoyed what I did. I had a passion for it, so I could work for that 4 months and not get paid, right? So this period also taught me how to stand up for myself, you know, how to open my eyes and see that, you know, not all that glitters is gold, because I can tell you for free, most of these top brands that I worked with, they had major issues with paying, you know, all of those things. And even I had to make my own, whatever in my mind, that I was not going to be one of those bosses that would pay their staff late, right? That would, like, what can you do with money that we're not seeing from the staff? You know, that's what I'm saying. So I realized, I learned all of those things as I went. I went through it, I suffered through it, but I learned all of those things along the way. And like they say, experiences, now when I hear the phrase experiences, I cannot agree enough that it is, because, it's just what it is.
Yeah, no, I think so. And I think to your point, a lot of us don't now get that experience until you do like an internship. And even that is probably a myopic view of what is actually going to be like in the real world, right? And so now you're plunged into the real world. And I think even from a younger age, so you can, to your point, I think, start to determine what it is you want and what it is you don't want early on. I feel like even now, with all my plenty degree and all my plenty, what's it called, I'm still at the place like, okay, what do I want? What do I want? Because you're also shaped by your environment. And if you're shaped in a school setting, your environment, your thought process is a lot different than if you're in the actual real world fighting and things like that. I did academia for so long that sometimes I'm very like, oh, and then you're like, the real world will show you better. And that's different from what you experience. And so talk to us about some of the earliest challenges you faced. Like, so I can imagine that, you know, you go in and you, because let me go back. Now you're saying it was obviously by the grace of God and you're getting a job every time. But I think that there has to be a time when you're showing your resume and they're like, yeah, but what's the education? Were you facing a lot of that? And really? So do you think it's industry based? Because I can also imagine that tech people don't have this issue. Like, as long as you know how to code, nobody really cares if you go to.
So what I do is I present my sketches. I know how to sketch, right? And then they're already wowed by it, right? So they don't ask me any other question. Yeah, they actually don't. The thing is, I never put it in my CV that I didn't. The moment they see that I went to school, it's there. They don't. I used to, in fact, that was when I realized that actually the fashion industry doesn't really care about, and it's something to worry about, right? As much as I benefited from that, I think that is something to worry about. Yes. I would say that, first of all, before they look at your paper or your CV, it's your confidence, right? And I remember that I'd done an interview at Tiffany, and I remember the creative director from, I can't remember her name, for like Kelly Coker. She said something about me being caught. Because she was asking me questions and I was looking at her straight in the eye and she didn't everything. I've done so many interviews and I'm like, you only stop my worry, let me just pass through. I would always go for an interview knowing that I'm going to get it. So the one time I did an interview and tell us but I didn't get it. And I was like, what?
Everything. I feel like God was like, you did this girl.
I was getting proud. So what I had to say I was talking, I was looking at her like, talking how? What do you mean? So, you know, she was expecting that people who should interview would be intimidated by her. But I was just thinking at her, like, I was even very relaxed. She was like, is this girl not cocky? She thought her business owner. I said, no, I just think she's confident. I'm like, thank you. What are you talking about? So that's how I was already into the whole. My eyes on the goal. My eyes were just on the goal. I wanted to tap into every department in fashion as much as I could sketch and all of that. I wanted to know what it was like to work as a front desk person, as a storeroom, showroom personnel, all of those things. Because I want to have my own business. I was heading towards having my business, and I knew that I needed to understand all of these departments to even be able to orientate people on those things, right? So
no, that makes sense. And you were saying that you think a degree is needed. Because here's my thing. When I had a kid in church, and she didn't want to go to school, and she wanted to do hair and stuff. And her parents were like, "Is a lie in which world you have to be a nurse?" And I told her one thing, and this is still my belief, that again, school was not necessarily because of the degree. So I told her to do psychology or public health. I always tell people to do psychology or public health. You have a basic understanding of the world, and you keep it moving, right? But I told her, I said, those are your business partners, or those are your first clients, and those are your first, like, if you even maybe you need help, you can tap into that. So I feel like for me, school was a network of people, and then again, school is one of those ones where you can meet people from very low background, whether after they got from scholarship or whatever, but they're still there, and then someone can be very, very rich and be lasting passion. So again, now would you tell somebody not to go to school? So because you said, oh, you think school is important, but is it also more from a technical perspective that you're saying that school is important in fashion? What would you say?
Hey everyone, if you're enjoying the podcast, please don't forget to hit the subscribe, like, or share button. Whether you're on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or YouTube, your support helps us to reach more people. Stay tuned for more amazing conversations, and thank you for being a part of our community.
Yes, it's very important to actually go to school, because up until this uni, I was looking through Instagram, of course, and I'd seen like an ad where they had talked about getting a scholarship once you have a certain degree and something, and I was like, dang. That's not the first time I was saying it, right? So it just feels like, it's like God is telling me right now, like, girl, you know what you're supposed to do, right? So that aside, there are technical things. School is important. School is very important. There are technical things in this fashion that I feel like if you don't go to school for it, you would get some things that you go on YouTube to go learn, right? And it just reminds me of how important school is. Like, there are too many technicalities that you would miss if you actually don't have a degree.
So, because I always tell people, right, like I love the apprenticeship model thing that we do in Nigeria, but sometimes when I'm arguing with someone who their only thing is apprenticeship, they don't understand execution, right? They don't understand some of the reasoning behind something. So, for example, why would the doctor tell you not to eat for 12 hours before a surgery? Because it affects your bowels, because it has all these reasons. So if you just think, what do you mean? I'm sure I can still drink water because it's just water, right? But if you don't understand the reasoning, right, then you think anything goes. And I think that's why school is important, right? And I always tell people that I think for me, again, it's not just what you learn in your degree. I think all the things you do with like extracurricular and things like that, those opportunities are really important. With that said, I think like you're doing, if you can't, let's even imagine that you can't for whatever reason, you can learn through other resources. So like you're saying, learning through YouTube and things like that. People can get a whole degree, of course, by just doing that. So I think that's another thing though, because that's a different kind of learning, right? And I think, again, even if you're going to do apprenticeship model, that's just one way of doing it. It's why you have to do an internship, right? It's why you have to have that first job, because it's like how they always say, oh, how am I going to get a job if you don't give me a chance, right? But with that said, there are things you will learn on the job. There are things that you can, I think, ways that you can bypass learning, for lack of a better term, through teaching, like through something being taught to you. And I think for me, that's my only advocacy for education, because I feel like sometimes it can be a burden for the creative person.
Yes, it is. It is. I totally agree with that. I was going to say that it's just when I say things here, people I feel like when I was going right now, that's okay. I'm a rebel when it comes to life
Yes.
issues because I don't go with the crowd. I do exactly what my instinct says.
Yeah.
I don't think that I'm missing out on anything, right? But I know that, as a human being, you do not know what you're missing until you see something. Right? Recently, we were talking about, I was talking to my boss about flying. She was talking about flying business class and how people are always saying it's not the same destination. And I said, Ma, I used to be part of people. I want there flew business. I'm like, what? I see it now. So you see, that's the same thing about things that you can learn in school.
Yeah.
You would look at it like I'm not missing out on anything. So I can still sit down here and say I'm not missing out on anything. But that's my opinion. Yeah. So it's not like anybody's watching this and saying what she said and she's thriving in her whatever. Yeah. I'm just giving you my opinion because I haven't tasted the other side of things, right? But I know that I want to. Yeah. And my perspective will change. I always tell people whenever I drop an opinion, I give a disclaimer that in the next 1 or 2 months, in fact maybe next week, my perspective might change and I'm open to changing, right? So please let's just go with the flow. But I would say that I don't think that I'm missing out on anything at the moment because everything that I want to know, I learn, I pick it up by myself and I learn, styling. I don't know how to sew. I still don't know how to sew until today. Yeah, I've never liked it. Even back when I was in school, and we'll do that whole period class of it. I used to fail it all the time. I hate it.
Really?
Right? Yeah. So it was one of the courses that I used to fail. Yeah. When they were saying sewing, I was like, oh god, we're here again. Having to get the lines and all of those things. Yeah. I used to fail all the time. Like I don't think now that I don't have a teacher or a lecturer to put my back into it, I'm about to just let it go. And since that time on, I've never learned how to sew.
And I think that one thing that you're saying, because my aunt is actually, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure Auntie Yemi doesn't know how to sew. But she's in fashion, she's in the creative sustainability, of fashion. And now that I think about it, I'm like, I don't think she knows how to sew. But like if you're putting the names of people in fashion, you put her name. So explain to me, when you say you're in fashion, tell me what you're doing and all things you're doing that doesn't involve account data. And then it makes the point about there's tailors and then there's designers.
Yes.
Which sometimes is annoying because I'm like, I don't want to pay the designer. But now it makes a point that tailoring versus designers is an actual thing.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me what you're doing in fashion.
First of all, when people call me tailor, I'm like, I'm not a tailor. And it's not because I'm thinking that it's a lower, it's not anything. There's nothing low about being a tailor. Yeah. That's a skill that you know how to do, right? I'm not a tailor, I don't know how to sew. I'm a designer, I design the pieces and I supervise how I want the pieces sewn. So now the difference between me and my tailors is I give them something to sew and they cannot fathom yes, they cannot fathom the creativity around it. So I sit down there and I say, reduce the tension of your machine to this number. I don't want your tension tight on this part. Tighten, that sort of thing. So they're looking at me like, Ma, can you sew? No, but I know exactly what I want, right? And because I've worked in ready-to-wear for so long, and now I'm more in bespoke. Now I'm added bespoke to my list of businesses. So I'm also learning that bit now of fashion, right? But let's even just stay on ready-to-wear. So I like fabrics like what I'm wearing. Yes. And fabrics like this, people run away from it. Wow. People run away from soft fabrics, silk, chiffon, and that's where you see me. Because I like how flowy they look. Right. They are the hardest fabrics to sew. Yes. So those are the things that I like to do because it's a challenge for me. Right. I don't want to do what everybody's doing, right? So that's the difference between me and sometimes tailors can come in and especially when I'm interviewing them and I say, what can you do? What's your weakness? What's your strength? I ask those questions because not all tailors can sew all fabrics. Right. Everybody has what they like to sew. So when I'm interviewing, I'm like, you're not coming to sew cotton. I do cotton, but you're not coming to sew that. I'm coming to sew silk and chiffon. And this silk and chiffon are not your typical silk and chiffon. They are the hardest fabrics that I purchase. And I say, okay, they'll come and then they'll see and they'll go. So most of the time, I really don't have a lot of tailors in my space because I used to say anybody who sits on my chair or my tailoring seat is a king or a queen because you just get it, right? If I'm satisfied with your work, that means your work is A-word, So the thing I do, I currently work as a production manager at Grey Velvet. Grey Velvet is a stockist. She stocks Nigerian designers and brands and all of that, down to accessories, clothing and all of that. Then I also work as a stylist. I work as a freelance stylist at the moment. I used to work as a stylist teacher at Tiana's King Empire, where I used to teach a student on styling. And I now have a bespoke brand called The Rural Life, and I also have a ready-to-wear brand called Pridados. But in all honesty, I've for the longest period of time treated my brands as hobbies. Like when I'm in the mood,
Okay.
I will do when I'm not in the mood. Like when people are saying, when are you releasing a collection? Like, I'm releasing when I feel like it. Like, that's not how things are done. You release a lot to the calendar. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't like the pressure of all of those things. But I'm now learning to, when you put God in things, it's like, snap out of your delusion and come out of, So I'm now in that place where, okay, I'm taking things one step at a time. Oh, I also run a manufacturing brand that caters to upcoming brands that don't want to manufacture a large number of pieces. So the least that I would offer to manufacture for them are 50 pieces. I think that's a great number to start with as a brand. So I think that I'm solving a problem for like a communal problem that people don't want to go all the way to China and manufacture 1,000 pieces.
Absolutely.
Not access the market. So I also do that. So these are the things that I do. I think that every day I just figure out. I just realize that I have this, I can do this, and I do it.
Yeah, but that is actually really amazing because again, you're saying a lot of things to a lot of people. One, start.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing that I'm learning from all of this, right? You have an idea, you have something you're working on, you have something that you can do, and God has given you the ability to do start. It doesn't have to be big scale. It just has to be that you show up, right? Yes. 2, learn. And then 3, like again, be willing to start from the bottom up, right? Or from the, how do you say that?
I'm never ashamed to.
Yeah. And I think that, add God and confidence, and you have a winning what's it called. With that said, I love that you're still saying, hey, I want to go back to school, it's still my dream or whatever, because you can show that you can, quote unquote, something, I don't want to say something was taken away from you, it really wasn't that. But who knows, maybe God was also just using it to be a stepping stone to where you needed to get to. The school now is like added what's it called on top of it. Like
I see that way as well.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Okay. Because of our time, I'm going to do this or that first, and then see if we can add other questions later. So, heels or sneakers?
Sneakers.
Okay.
Actually, you know what?
It depends.
It depends. I will be uncomfortable just to look good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that uncomfortable.
No. The thing is, I'm a heels girl, but all my heels are comfortable. So
exactly.
I'm
a kitten little girl. I don't wear anything high.
let me not say, I'm not a heel. I think it depends. I'm like you. It depends on what I'm trying to put together.
Yeah, it has to match the outfit.
Exactly.
I'm currently just becoming a sneakerhead.
Okay. But my heels have to be comfortable. Like,
exactly.
I'm sorry. I'm not even. Okay, minimalist or maximalist?
I'm a minimalist, but my brother thinks otherwise.
It's funny, like the first time I met you, I'm like, okay, minimalist. Today I'm like, maybe maximum. But I think I can see, because again, this is still coordinated minimalist, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, okay. I need to wear a custom made.
Ready to wear.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Really? Why?
Even my custom made out, when people give me laces fashion, I make them like ready to wear pieces. I don't like extra past one lining, and I don't corset anything. God, what the heck is that?
Please.
No.
Please, I
can sew a slip dress with a lace fabric.
I love that. Okay, sketchy designs or styling looks?
Styling looks.
Okay. Solo work or team collaboration?
Team collaboration.
Okay. Netflix and chill or party and slay?
Oh, they should go to I would say that I'm a homebody.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm trying to see. I think all first children are homebodies. But
yes,
that's
like you have a choice.
Exactly.
Like we're spent.
That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. Okay. Quick question. Not quick question. You get to ask me one question. So, what's your one question?
Wow. I didn't think of that. And I'm not somebody who knows how to ask a lot of questions. I just have to go people out.
But you still have to ask me a question. person. That's the rule of the game.
Okay. Oh
Think
wow.
about anything
You
in
did
the world.
prep for this. Oh wow.
You forgot.
I did.
Last week, the last time.
Oh wow. Okay. What did you major in?
Public health. That was easy. No, you can't get away with that. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't see. Oh wow. Oh wow. Do you have any interest in fashion?
A lot, actually.
Okay.
So now that I think we talked about this a little bit. I don't know why, but I think with my mom. My mom is into fabric. She really loves fabric. She's always selling and all of that. And then I particularly love African wear. I don't know what it is about it, but I just think that why did I want to be buying Shein and all of it? And I bought them because I mean they were cheaper, they were affordable. But it was like my mom had to come and then bring it for me, and then she had to know my exact measurements, which was like a struggle. So for me, I'm still in that place of plus. I feel like that's the problem with an African woman. Your body changes, right? Your body is this thing. Like now, I promise you, I've not lost a single pound, but my body looks like I've lost weight. So again, now I have to almost kind of adjust the clothes for the. So I tell people right now, I have all my things that I've had maybe 5 years, 10 years, probably have this pants for like 20 years. But my point is that I want it to fit into what I want now. I don't want to have to now buy a new thing. Like, okay, is it time to get it shorter? Is it time to make it flared? Like, if I can work on the pieces that I already have, as opposed to having to buy new pieces, I think that would make my life great. But Nigerians find it difficult to work on other people, like on an outfit that has been made. They want it to always be new.
I like that you're saying this,
Yeah.
because if there's one thing I'm working on now when it comes to like my Facebook is I feel bad when I have to charge people for their shopping. I feel bad, but again, I'm not going to carry that.
Exactly.
Like,
some people are saying 1 million pounds.
yeah, because I'm actually a great job, so I have to charge you.
Yeah.
But I always suggest to them to make things. I want them to listen to my opinion on the design so that I can eventually tweak it for them.
Yeah.
All of my attributes that I've made for myself, I can make them anything else.
Anything,
You know, I can remove one thing, element from it, and it will
my
change.
wedding dress. Wedding dresses, I made sure that they were things that I could wear.
Yes,
because
I think that I don't know what it is with Nigerians, but we just feel like repeating the same thing, or it's I don't know what it is, but it's not sustainable financially. It doesn't even make any sense, right? Like they'll say, "Oh, I'm not going to wear it again." I'm like, that doesn't affect the money. Like I didn't send the message, but this is what we should do. And so far, I have few people from my church that they've given me things to tweak. And I've tweaked it.
Happy to hear this.
I'm a tweaker.
Before you go.
I'm a tweaker. So yeah, it's very. I like that you said that. It means that we have the same interest in sustainability.
Yes.
It's very important.
Absolutely.
We have that. So, yes, nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you. So, what will you say to your 19-year-old self now, in retrospect?
You know, when people ask this question, it's just so weird because I'm like, unless the 19-year-old made a mistake along the way, I never did.
See, I like that. That's a perspective.
Yeah, I never did. I went along with, you know, I have a thing where. Have you seen Grace Anatomy?
I love Grace.
Is it Grace?
Yes, now take one.
The Good Doctor.
The Good Doctor Sean.
Yeah. You see why Sean plays all those things in his head?
Yes.
I know how to do it very well.
Yeah.
So I've always taken my life one step at a time. I've never rushed anything. When people are having things, I don't look at them.
Right.
So my 19-year-old was on track.
Fair enough.
I'm just really grateful to be here now with God,
Yeah.
because back then I thought I took control of my life, right? Because I felt like I couldn't put in everybody's hands, my father's, right? So I took control of my life, and up until now it took at least I think I've been on this journey with God for 5 years now. So for 4 years now, and from that time till now it's been interesting. Now I'm in a place where I just handed everything to Him. But from that point to this time, like when I was telling about anger and how I let the anger just do all of this, I think I've just always been on track. You know, I've never derailed from anything that I wanted to do. My eyes have always been on the goal up until now. So I'll say that whatever I'm living now is the goal that I was actually trying to achieve.
I really like that. I feel like I would always say, you know, like be bolder, be confident. I feel like I wasn't exactly like I was, but like in a guarded way, like in an unfree way that, you know, sometimes we as Nigerians have. So I feel like I have some things, right? Because okay, another way I would say it is this, like for you, would you have said, okay, maybe you could have applied for a scholarship, like, or reached out to the school to give you, you know, some more time? Like, are there ways you feel like you could have pushed and not use anger, like to not say, oh, I'm just going home, for example?
I did push.
Okay.
We asked for more time, but it never happened, and I just packed my bags and I left. I did push, and even after school, I just went straight into working. I started working when I was 21. So I the thing is, I know how to brood over things for a very long time, because I know that the moment I'm done.
Yeah.
Right. So I did brood. I went through all that brooding, and I was just at home crafting things with my hands, you know, just trying to get my mind out of it. And until my mom had convinced me to just take up that job, and in 21 I took up the job. So I would say that it's just been, it's just been on track. And I know that people, you know, when people are looking at you from the external place, they're like, Amina, you are more capable than you look at yourself. I would say there's not been fear of when it comes to doing things. I know that I'm supposed to be doing things that are greater than me. I mean, don't we all? Right? But I'm also giving myself grace. Because before I would have been upset. Those are the things that used to get me angry. Before God, before me and God now, those were the things that used to get me angry. So people will see me and say, they always just angry. I'm thinking about my life. It's not about you, any shape or form. If I don't bring to you, sorry, it's not about you. It's me, man. It's me. You know, but now I'm just in a place where I'm giving myself grace. If I need to be somewhere, okay, I'll get there. I know that I used to call myself a late bloomer. I used to say that I realize things very lately, but that's because I like to think. When I'm thinking about certain things, I will dissect, and I can be dissecting for like a month or two. Exactly, you know, because I'm like, I look for the loopholes, this, that, before I now put myself in it. So I would think that that's what it is, but I'm not regretting where I am. I'm not regretting where I am at all. I'm on track.
Okay. I like it. And if you don't mind me asking, what would you say is your relationship with your dad now? Is it better?
My dad is late, but a year before he died, we were getting back on track. We were doing great. I'd gone for, like, let's say, a mini therapy. And just like I think my perspectives had just been wider on that. And we were doing well before he died.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Were you still in that anger phase? Would you say, even though you were working through it, were you still in that anger phase?
No.
You said, okay, all right.
No, because I mean, it was up until recently. I think up until recently, God opened my eyes on how these people don't even know what they're doing. So it's their first time being parents, you know. But even back then, my heart was milder towards him, because during that therapy session, it was just one. It was even between friends. Funny, it was me that hooked me up with a friend of hers, and she had like, I said, "What did you tell your friend? Why does she want to see me?" You know that sort of thing. But she had broken down some things. Write out the pros and write out the cons of your dad's character and all that. By the time I wrote it, I was like, okay. And he's just his is navigating his life, right? And if he could do better, he would. So I just became milder towards him. I just felt like I didn't. Now was when I wanted to now get to know him, because as a child, I would say that I didn't really know my dad. I knew a bit of him, but the depth of him I didn't know.
I think that's also parents not realizing that they I don't want to say they owe us that, but they should give us that, right? They typically wait until they're older and do, when you two are adults, or when you two are married, you know, kind of thing.
I used to say that all the time. You understand? They understand. They used to say that that we couldn't comprehend. I'm like, you have intelligent kids. My father has intelligent children. By the way, I count all my siblings. I'm like, all of you, nobody here is a dummy. Like, you don't even know the children that you have, right? Tell us, we can take it. But he never used to, so he would say he wouldn't his phrase. He won't understand.
Yeah.
And now it's too late too. I'm understanding on my own.
Fair enough. And you know, I mean, and I think that's one of the things I always tell people that, you know, there gets to a certain age where you can't blame your parents anymore for what it is that they did. Exactly. So either way, you know, I guess I have to understand you on your own. But I think you know, sometimes, you know, I can go back to my mom and be like, you know that thing, or you know, it's good to at least have been able to go back to him. And just have I'm sorry, I really am. But I also, I mean, you know, again, all things work together for good.
Yeah.
Clearly, because again, you're standing on your own, I think, a lot stronger because of what you went through.
Yeah.
And so, even with now losing your dad, I think that if you had lost him a lot, without some of those things, you may have been broken at this age.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Fun fact, when I lost him, that was when I started to cry.
And exactly, right?
You know what? I don't know how many. You know, like when he was alive, I you know, the moment I got angry at the fact that you couldn't pay my school fees,
Exactly.
I just, you know, like took my stuff out of the house, you know, and I've been surviving from that point on my own, right? But you know, at the back of your mind, you know that your father is
Still there. You can still go home.
Yes, your father is there. But the moment he went, I was just like, oh wow, take over. Yeah, my father that I know now. You know that you have a God, but I never looked at God as a father figure in that sense.
Yeah.
Because I was having a shitty relationship with my earthly father.
Yes.
Right? So I just looked at him as a distant one that just took care of everybody and that's it, right?
Yeah.
But after that there was now this intimacy with him and I was just like, oh wow. So yeah, I feel like I thank God for my dad's life.
Yeah.
I thank God that he went when he did.
Yeah.
Because I used to call it like you took a life for a life, right? Because you got me after he went. I'm like, okay.
Okay, so the non-Christians here might be thinking that's wrong, and I don't think he exactly did that. Let's just say
Well,
like
he did take God the life, but yeah, but like your life went and I came in like, okay,
exactly.
yeah.
And I think that's so important because it's funny. We're just at the this thing called Father's Day, the back of Father's Day, and even though that was not supposed to be the whole point of this conversation, I just think it's important to understand that again. Yes, we have earthly parents, but ultimately God is our parent. Like, and that's the only person that won't, you won't make decisions that will, even in the difficult decisions like losing your dad, all of those things, like you're saying, right? That happened. I don't want to say so that, but it happened and gave you this relationship with him. And I think that's just the beauty of it.
Just clear out the way.
You know, and without because again, think about it, the hurt, the anger, the trauma, all of that is not like, the message is over here. The message is over here.
At the moment he left, I just, whatever anger I still had, even when we were talking before he passed, there was still some pent up anger, and I just needed to see him first, right, to have the rest of the conversation. But after he left, I was like, okay, so who I am doing now? And then everything just evaporated. Not immediately, it took some healing process with God, but everything has evaporated now. Okay,
And that's why we also talk about forgiveness a lot with Christianity, right? Because I think they always say that the forgiveness is not for you, it's not for the other person because the other person has gone.
It's actually for you.
Exactly.
It's actually for you. So that you can move forward. Because you don't forgive somebody, you keep the person in the prison and you are there with the prison with the person that you have locked. So you just let the person release the person and you just go your way as well. And eventually everything is going to pan out. And everything is fine out well. Okay, I'm happy.
And as the firstborn, do you think that you've been able to kind of guide your siblings? Was it that they just went through their own individual journey? Did everybody kind of feel differently? How did that go?
Yeah, I mean, I've had conversations. My brother and I are really close, so I've had conversations with him from time to time. And when he's expressing his own experience as a child in the house, because I'm the first and the second, but he's the only boy. It's an entirely different experience that I had. I never even knew he was going through that. I would say that because it was not just school, there was depth to who our father was to us. He was not he was loving in his own way, but he was not the most caring, right? So everybody went through this experience with him in their own ways. So now we're in a time where, but one thing my brother said to me was, he made a decision not to allow that be like the center, or it's like allow something to traumatize you to the point where you cannot even get out of it. Like you are destroyed by the trauma. So I think that's how it is with the rest of the siblings. Everybody has just said, you know what? Nope, I'm not going to let this whole thing that happened because we have the best childhood. You see, every time I talk about it, like I'm in a place of conflict because there was this and there was that.
Oh my God. I feel like that is the exact word. And I don't want to say for a lot of us, but I really do feel like it's particular to Nigerians. I don't know why.
There was love, and I had a fun childhood. When I think of what we're talking about all the things that we did as children. It was fun. But then when we talk about the other part of things, I'm like, the balance. So I used to say that, I used to tell people that we lived the two lives. And I would say that everything still is God. You know, they say that the Bible, the part of the Bible that says that God will give you what you can handle. So as children, the reason why we're all shaped the way that we are because we went through these things, and even as children, we're going through these challenges. So it didn't destroy us; it made us. So now we are all where we are, individually strong. All my siblings are strong. We're all strong. There's no weak one. I would even say that I'm the one who writes books. I think I'm not even saying the weakness, but I'm saying, okay, let me rephrase. I'm emotional. I keep on putting a wall as one strong as but I'm very emotional. So we're all strong. And I would think that it's because of the things that we went through as kids. The fun times, the down times just made us really strong. When I look at everybody, I'm like, you guys are doing great. You guys are doing really great. So
that's really great. But it also, like, because we talk a lot about how all these kids now, these Gen Z kids are not resilient. But the thing is, do I want them to go through, like, again, let me say it like this, sorry. My brain thinks about 10 different things at the same time. But think about it, like, how do you want to parent now, right? Because I feel like what happened to a lot of us, it's almost like I say that the older generation, they thought, oh, they got to go to America and London and all of that. So all they taught their own children was to aspire to be great and make money and all of that, right? And that, I think, has led to the older people that are a lot corrupt in Nigeria. And then that created the set of kids who they went to America and they did all of that, but they were so spoiled because their parents didn't have time, so they did all the drugs and all of that. And now we've come back and we're like, now we're the ones that are trying to be like, okay, you know what, we're going to send you on the right path, but that also means that you must not suffer. Like, you're not going through those challenges that I think kind of prune you, right? But I don't want my kids to go through that. I don't want my kids to not go to school and then learn things from that. How do you manage that? Like, if you think about what you would want to be as a parent from your own experience, how do you manage the learnings you learned and how critical it has been for your growth and how you want to shape your child? Like, again, sorry, my question is long, but let me give you an example. Ben Affleck saying he's not letting his child buy that $100 shoe, let him go work for it, right? So in his mind, that's the most he can do to kind of get his child to understand that, oh, this is daddy's money, this is not money, this is money, I mean, this is not, your money. But at the end of the day, the guy is still living a much more privileged life than most people. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So how do you reckon you'll probably be able to balance that?
I'm currently just getting into the acceptance of wanting kids.
Fair enough.
And that's because we as human beings don't know what's good for us. But I'm now in a spiritual reorientation that kids are good. And I mean, I have nephews and they're the sweetest, right? And I miss them. Like when I'm not around them, when they're around me, everything just feels, but then when they're around me, I have this anxiety because I feel like kids are accident prone. So I'm just like, and I'm like, just go home. You know what I'm saying? ask me why, I think that it's for the pettiest reasons. I don't like to be responsible for extra things.
See, you have enough responsibility. I'm not exactly, as much as I want, some days I'm like, sure, alright. Like, are you up to you? You really want this responsibility.
Exactly.
Because when my nephew is sick, it's like I just keep myself. Like, that's how I feel. Yeah, that's right. I don't know exactly what you mean.
But the idea of having kids means that it's like the Bible says, train up a child in the way that he should go, so that when he goes, he will not depart from it. I practice these things on my day, where, you know, when I'm praying and I say, something will be happening in Jesus' name. I say, amen. And I see how they pick it up.
Yeah.
You know, then I've forgotten the prayer, and then my nephew is repeating that same prayer point, you know. I just know one thing. If you have, I want to take care of my children, right? I'm just going to give a little illustration, because that's how I give explanation to these things. My sister, the mother of my nephews, she doesn't give them candy. Not for anything, not as a treat or anything. So their treats are fruits, and that's all they want. If I want to give them candy, it's like, that's the thing. So now they're used to it, and it's helping them. It's healthy for them, right? It's and then the kids who have the candy, you know, they don't see kids having candy and they don't feel like they're missing out on anything. I feel like that's the general way to train a child. You know, the things that seem, you know how human beings are, the things that seem like the sweetest things in the world are what we want. That's what we're drawn to. But in its sense, it's not. It's not good for you. Right? It's like wanting something from God and saying, God, I want this, but He's not answering you because it's not good for you. I think that if as a parent, the parent that I want to be now that I've come into that whole conclusion of wanting kids,
I love that.
thank you, is that you have to raise them, of course, and the Holy Spirit is important in your raising. I don't care what anybody says, but the Holy Spirit is really important in your raising kids, doing anything that has to do with your life, right? That whole need for them to go this path as opposed to this path. If you don't think that they deserve that $100 shoe at that moment, then you will not give it to them. Not because they don't have what they have. This thing you provided for them as a parent. They are living a good life. You know, they're living a comfortable life. But if you don't think that this is necessary, I was reading something recently about somebody saying she wrote about how she was really aiming towards, she has always aimed to give her kids good things like toys, all of those things. And then one time she had saved towards something, and maybe she went to the place to get it, and it was done, it was finished, and she was feeling really bad, and she eventually just got like a pin, just anything, and they were so happy, and she realized that children don't even, you know, it's not when you grow up into an adult that your eyes are now like everywhere. Children don't care for this thing, and that's how we should actually be as even grown adults, right? And that's how God even teaches us to be. Like, don't look at other things outside. Look in yes, right? My boss does something. When her children, I mean, years ago, I would see her children just appear in the factory, and she'd say, oh yeah, Amina, so person what you want them to do. She was the one who now got orientated me on that idea. She's wealthy. But her children will ask her for money. They ask me for money, they say they should come and work. So they have what they have. But you see that extra thing that you need, you would work for it. And I believe in that parenting style. I really believe in it.
I love that. And I love that. Somehow this conversation went from whatever it was going to be to it really is at the end of the day. And I think, honestly, one of the things that this is really just reminding me or is concluding all of this for is, one, be authentic, right? I can't talk.
A core value.
It really is.
That's a core value.
You know?
I can't pretend for anything. I cannot pretend for anything.
It's a very, very important thing. And then I think be empathetic, right? You see this thing online all the time. You don't know what people are going through. Be kind, but it's really true, right? Like, just be kind, like, be empathetic. You don't even need to know what the person is going through. And you know, sometimes even like at work, and they're complaining that, oh, you know, this person is mistreating me and I always tell them, why are you taking it personally? You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what they're about them. It's about them. So if you make your happiness about, and I was telling somebody today, 10 hours a day at work, you're making your happiness about someone you see for 10 hours and you have 24 hours, and actually, in fact, out of that whole week, you don't work 2 days. So you have 50 hours of your life is being affected by something. Now, come on now, like that, you know. And I think I'm just seeing all that in you. And this is the point of why we do this podcast. I guess what I'm trying to say, right? Because I'm hoping that people can learn these things, right? See it in others, see how people are living out their lives, and being able to just relate to them. Yeah, but also just be the best person you can. Like, I think if everybody makes that their goal, to be the very best person you are. I don't know, maybe we'll see less air, you know? Maybe we'll see less bedroom killings and less random. I don't know. I don't know if that's a solution to anything, but at least I hope that, you know, with God by our side, right, we are also going to be the generation that raises up children that are much stable, much more oriented. You think so?
I think the millennials are really like.
I think so too.
We're raising good set of kids.
We have a lot of things to challenge us.
Yes,
Technology is one. I remember the fact that Facebook started, I think the year after I graduated. I let Bill, I think I was 18. That was my first phone. And now it's like, if I don't wake up, it's beautiful. It's like, and I'm just like, for the longest time, I didn't even, it was Nokia 3310.
All these things.
Nokia 3310. And like, it was fun. And sometimes I wish I just went back to my Nokia 3310.
I know, sometimes you want to go back to that simpler life.
You know, so I don't blame us. I feel like we have a lot to actually like challenge us and have us like try and prove that.
And then we try to live up to our kids.
Yes.
You show that proof via your kids.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I don't want to say concerned, but I'm definitely very. I can't wait to see 50 years from now. I can't imagine what it is. Like, I don't know what our children will face, what things are going to be, technology, AI, economy, all of that. So it'll be an interesting world. With that said, this has been amazing. Because like, I keep you here forever talking about extra things. But honestly, really, truly, thank you. I can't wait for you to go to my closet now and let's do some fashion styling. Thank you everybody for joining. What did I say? Subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. Get us to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the season. Thank you. Peace out.
Thank you for joining me in today's episode. Just like you would share with friends about a great book you read, don't forget to share this if you enjoyed it. Connect with us on IG and Twitter at twwpcast and get details on the website at worldwithoutpeople.org. And hey, remember to make loving others the story of your life. Until next time, this is the World Without People.